Hey guys, welcome to another ride in the struggle bus where every wheel is an empty triangle. Today we play against a 9K on OGS, and we play a little less murdery of a game compared to last one, though there were definitely opportunities to be a little more murdery. The main focus on this game is cuts and weak shape, because White was playing fairly well until the middle game where some shape started to fall apart because of cuts. Of interesting notes, our opponent today is a viewer of the struggle bus. So welcome to your video and your game. Thank you for playing us today. And so with that, as per always, I'd like to thank our opponent for playing us today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching these videos, and I'd like to thank my patrons for supporting the channel. So with that, let's get into this game. Okay, let's go. We are black against a 9K on OGS. So let's see how this goes. Also, this person watches all the videos. I'm so excited. So excited. Anyway, in honor of them, I will use my standard opening while still following the rules. So we'll be going after the corners first, then the sides, then the center. I'll just be doing it in this way. So let's see how they respond to the approach. If they back off, I will jump pretty far back. But sometimes they pincer, sometimes they kick. So let's see. Or we get the tanuki. I like this. I like the play away. Just going to keep this one real simple, and we're going to back off here. They approached our corner. We're going to respond to it, even though they did ignore our approach on their corner. And now they are going to jump and pincer. So it looks like we're going to have a nice dynamic game here, but we can still follow all the rules. So in this case, we're just going to jump into the corner. We tried going for the side here, but they said, nope, you're not getting the side. So we're going to go after the corner instead. So they block the connection, and we extend, they extend. We're now going to attempt to connect to this stone. That's what this variation does. So we play under, they're going to block. We are going to connect, which threatens the cut here. And you have to protect your cuts. So they protected their cut. And I'm going to jump out now. This gets us a pretty large corner. This stone's kind of floating there awkwardly, but we can potentially do something with it later, unless they do a move like this. Now this stone's pretty much as dead as it gets, but that is okay. We still got a pretty good chunk of territory here. And we now have one more corner to approach. And so we are going to approach it, and we will approach it high because we already have the C6 stone here. The attachment is not too surprising. We will Hane. This variation wants to give us this side, and we already have this stone here, so that should work out in our favor. We will connect to protect our cut. I'm sure they will jump to take the side because that is the common variation. And now we can jump back high or we can jump back low. And because we already have a stone over here, I'm going to jump back high. And so that is trying to take this corner. And we do have, or this side rather, we do have one more corner that was open. And so they decided to approach it. I'm just going to back off, keep this one simple. And they are doing the attachment joseki. So this is one that I do not recommend most of my viewers to play. It is easy to mess up. So we're going to Hane here, and they're going to Hane here. And we're just going to play this Atari. We're going to do the easier of the variations here. We're just going to take this Atari. They're going to connect, and we're going to connect here. We can push through. That really complicates things, though. And so we want to protect our cuts. And so we've got two cuts here. We're going to protect this one. They need to protect their cut, too, so they're going to protect here. And now we have the option of saving this stone or playing on top here. I'm going to play on top here. That is the way I normally go with this. I'm actually not a huge fan of this variation. I'm not happy as black or as white in this one, which doesn't make too much sense, but it is my stance on it. So I typically, when I'm approaching the 4/4 stone, I've stopped doing this variation. So looking at this board now, we have two sides. We have a side here and we have a side here. Um, and they're both very similar, where both of us have a stone. So on the top side, we both have white has a stone on the left, we've got a stone on the right, and then there's kind of a question mark in the middle, and we've got something similar on the right side. The difference here, though, is we have a fourth line stone here, and there's only third line stones on the top. It's tough to develop off of third line stones. It's easier to develop off of a fourth line stone. So I'm going to play on the right side because of that, and I'm just going to play here. I think this is a little too strong, a little too close to white's strength over here, which would make an invasion at R8 a little too difficult. So we're just going to play R9 to give us a good base here, while also staying nice and strong. And I neglected the fact that the bottom is also open. I was looking at the mutual spaces between us. So, so now that he's played this, we can still look at invading here. We can also look at claiming our corner. The issue is if we kick and he gets more strength here, any invasions or reductions here will be more difficult. But we do still have an open corner. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to kick this stone and see how he plays it. He extended up, which is the natural move, and we don't really need to respond to it. If he had descended, we maybe would have considered Q2. At this point, we've got one more open side, and that is the top, and we will play a little further here because we do have some strength here now. So I like the 3-point jump because we've got this strength. He turns, we have to high here. We have to block this. And so we block this to try to build this up. So here, they're taking the double Hane. We're just going to extend, because if we Hane ourselves, it's going to open up ourselves to a lot of cuts. And in this situation, it's not too bad if white pushes along, because there's really nothing to gain here for white, and there's a lot for us to gain on the top here. So staying strong is my preference here. This will also help protect this cut, and it's important that we protect our cuts. And talking about cuts, there's a cut here at white that we can aim at later, so we can get a move like R11 for free. So they are shoulder hitting a fourth line stone, which always hurts. This is always, it doesn't always hurt, but in a board like this, it's not something that I'm a huge fan of, because it's going to give us more strength when we push here, and now that's going to make any reduction here a lot more difficult. So it looks like they're trying to build up the center, but the center is going to be tough to build. Considering just taking a turn here, but this attachment at C7 might be a little annoying, so I may also play to fix that. And so I think I'm going to play D7 because we've got this cut here, we've got this cut here. Our two stones are somewhat strong there, so I'm going to play this to help get us some shape to deal with these cuts. And they extend one more time. And it looks like they are looking to really build this. I'm going to take this turn to make sure that they can't get a larger extension. This will also make this stronger. It also threatens to make a large territory ourselves. So I will play this turn. They go to push through. We are going to block. Part of this early variation that we did protects this because we have a good number of liberties. So there's no threat of a double cut here. So when white does this, normally there can be some concern when white takes this Atari and then plays here. And what I mean by this is when white does this, if we Atari and they Atari and we capture and they extend, we have 3 liberties, so we can play this and capture these 2 stones. That's part of the reason why we made this exchange earlier in the game, is to protect this exact cut. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to Atari this stone. Okay, and they push there. We will block. Again, this stone is doing a good job of protecting these cuts. So we obviously need to do something here. I'm just going to connect. And now I expect a move in the center to try to build off of this. I think they have to, if they're making all these exchanges and giving us this entire side, they need to be playing that right now. Okay, but instead, they are looking to reduce the top. Again, with a shoulder hit, we are going to extend here. So shoulder hitting a third line stone is better because it forces us to take second line or third line territory as opposed to getting fourth line territory here. And we will push as well. We do have to be mindful of this cut. Right now we can net the stone. Okay guys, it's your favorite part of the video, what to do. And on this one I'm actually not going to guide you at all. There's a lot of options here, but I'm curious what way you'd end up going with it. So let me know in the comments where you'd play here and what your plan would be for that move or for the game in general. So yeah, let me know. Anyway, let's get back to the game. So White, I think, has made it their first big mistake of the game. And that is, again, they made all these exchanges on the left side to, giving me a large left side to get the center, right? But then they didn't follow up on that. And instead went and made a weak group. So we can bully this group while reducing this center, or we can do it the other way. We can reduce the center and then use that to go after these stones. So how do we want to go about doing this? Because this is an interesting one. And interestingly here, I think we are going to start with a shoulder hit because they are strong moves. They are very good moves at reducing. And so we can play this. We can play this to threaten to cut in. And then we're going to do something similar as what they did in the top. The difference here, though, is this wasn't a large potential for us. And so us losing that is not a big deal, as where White losing this is a larger deal. And so I'm going to play the same exact shape that they did because their shape is quite good. Okay, so White plays this. We can look at the bamboo. We can look at this shape, and this is the shape that I'm going to play here. It's just a little bit faster. It does have a weakness because we do have some cuts, but that is okay. Okay, so now they're coming back to the top and fixing the weakness that they had up there, and that is fine. We're going to do some more to reduce down here. I'm going to play this peep. There's a cut here, and so we're just going to go poke at it. So we played this peep, they connected, and there are options now. But I think I want to make sure that this group is nice and strong. And so we are just going to play here to make sure that this group does not get in trouble. And we can come back to what we wanted, figure out what we want to do with this stone later. Okay, they Hane, we are also going to Hane. And they extend. This group feels nice and strong now. There's a lot of room here. With White getting more strength here, this group could potentially get under attack. And so I'm going to play this to get our corner while also threatening to undercut. We are at the point in the game where second line moves start becoming playable. We are only at move 80, so it's a little early for them, but we are getting to the point where they are playable. We talked about this cut before. We're going to poke at that one too. And so we're just going to play here, poking at the cut while extending our right side. And that is a good way to protect the cut. I am going to extend one more time to poke at it again. And if they connect, it'll be pretty awkward shape. If they don't connect, we'll get the cut. And he extends. We will connect. So now this cut will come with a little more teeth because we won't have any weaknesses. And you'll notice that there's really not too much going on in the center, so we still are caring about the sides because there aren't going to be any points to be had in the center. Okay, I'm going to play another large second line move. I'm going to play b14 to help solidify our territory here, and it also comes with a pretty nasty follow-up, and so we're going to play that. They respond. We're going to play another large second line move. We're going to play this jump here, which again also threatens to reduce their corner and extends our own territory. And then we have to look at R18 as well, because he can capture this stone, which he did. He went to capture that stone. So the variation here is we are going to extend. This is not to save these stones. This is to get some better moves outside. And so then we play this to reduce the number of liberties on white. You know, liberties are very important. So white only has 2 liberties. Black has 2 liberties. So black has to play that, and now we can, or white has to play that rather. And now we can play this Atari, which forces white to capture, which is still big, but it comes in Gote, and we have follow-ups over here, right? White did not respond to this stone, but we will come back to that later. We are at the point now where the center is going to start becoming a little more important. We can also develop this side. We can also do both. We can jump out here to help strengthen the center and expand what we have going on the left. Yep, this is a pretty easy move. We will block that. White's gotta be careful because there's this Atari into another Atari into this connect, which would be pretty painful. And so so white plays that. We are going to push, which threatens to cut here, and we've got this cut here. And so we are absolutely going to take that. We are going to, I think white should have connected on top and just endured the reduction, but now we will push through because these cuts are fairly big. And so now we can push through here and take this cut. And white should probably protect something over here. But there's a cut here too. There's lots of cuts here that white did not protect when white descends to F18. So we will take this cut as well. And this is all going to get difficult for white now. So white is jumping out to get ahead. And how do we want to handle this? Do we just want to capture these 2 stones? That might be the answer. We could Hane and try to get these, but I think just capturing these 2 stones is good enough. And we will go get them. And white needs to continue being cautious here because we have another cut here, which he did protect. So there's still another cut though. All the cuts, there's lots of cuts. So even though white has this cut, I want to take this. This is a fairly large move. And so this is where we're going to play. White really needs to be mindful of this cut now that white has lost a liberty over here though, because this shape is fairly weak, especially with this L, and there's a cut here. Just there are cuts, many cuts. This is a very dangerous move. This is a very dangerous move because we can play on the outside and start getting strength on the cuts, and we're not going to do that here. But I just want to point out that a move like F13, very dangerous for white. So we're just going to block here, take our points. But white needs to be very careful here. And maybe now that they've extended, we can show some things. So I'm curious what white wants to do when we play here, because there's a cut and there's a cut. There are all these cuts, and I wonder what white wants to do when we play here, because there's a cut. And we can just really poke at all the weaknesses that white has. That is interesting. I like the response. In this situation, I'm just going to try to connect. Okay. And we're just going to extend. We threatened the cut. They protected the cut, and now we're going to extend. We're doing this just to build our left side. We're just poking at the weaknesses. And we will protect here to make sure that we can connect up. We can either connect here, we can connect here. And now white is going after this group, which is good. This is a group that definitely needed to be pressured a little bit. And this does a really good job of it because, hey guys, there's a cut here. If white plays here, if I wanted to play on top, and I still might give up these 2 stones. So you want to know what? I am just going to play on top. I'm going to sacrifice these 2 stones, but we're going to get Sente out of it. So that is fine by me. And it looks like white is going to capture. I'm going to play this connection, which threatens to connect here. And so I imagine he is going to do that. And so at this point, we can start looking into big endgame moves. And so I'm going to start taking them now. And so we can start with this first line Hane. This threatens to really erode a lot of white's points. And so we're going to do that. And then we're going to do the same thing. And then I want to do the same thing here, but we got to be careful because of the throw in. But I'm curious. We'll play it. And if they throw in, then obviously we're going to capture, but they did not. They did not throw in, so we get to connect, and they'll have to connect there as well. And so now I think we're going to take this Atari, and we are absolutely going to capture this stone. This was not a stone that white could give us so easily. And now we can potentially look at this. We can look at this Hane. This Hane feels pretty good. So we're going to take this, still using the Aji to this stone, even though G3 got played. There's still a lot of Aji here. Okay. And so they want to ko, but I'm okay with that. We're just going to Atari this stone. And so here, saving the stone comes in Sente because his group would be disconnected. We can also almost play this, but we're just going to connect, which will force white to protect their cut here. And if not, then these stones will die. And unfortunately, white is thinking, so white might not see this cut. And white did not see the cut. But this is big too. So we will take this high. And we will block here as well, giving white one more chance. We don't want to do it. 2 more chances, because we will block here as well. Okay, final chance. We are connecting. Okay, I can appreciate this. Because now if we take the cut, white can jump out and maybe do something here. And so I am just going to block white from coming out this way. And we will block here. So I did not actually want to kill these stones, but white has given us no choice now. So that is what we are going to have to do, I think. Let's see if I can find a way around it. Actually, you want to know what? This is fine. We will take this Atari. We'll get life this way. And we can extend here, which will threaten to kill these stones. And we should be able to find a way to get life here. So we will extend here, which will grow our eye space. And white does finally connect. So that is good. We'll take this Atari. We will threaten this cut with this. Oh, white is getting feisty on us. I like it. And I'm just going to connect on top. Did a little bit of reading here. And we're going to take this Atari, and we'll take this Atari as well. So now we've got a living shape, and we will capture. And at this point, the game is pretty much over. I will show this one little fun exchange because we did threaten this cut. So we'll push through, and now we get to connect or eat the stone if he cuts. So we will play this Atari, and now we are fully connected. So even if we were not alive here, we are alive now. So I'm going to finish this one up, and I will see you guys at the end of the game. Okay, so here we are at the end of the game. As you can see, we are up by a good amount, even without the murdering. So that is good to know. So let's take a look at the review for this game and see where our opponent could have done a little better. Okay, so let's take a look at this game and see where our opponent could have done better. With that said, they held their own for quite a while in this game. The AI graph does not swing in our favor until around move 85. So, so pretty far along. So, so let's take a look. So everything is fine at the beginning. I do like the Tanuki here. It shows that they are confident in leaving things unsettled and willing to jump around. That is a good thing to see. This far into the game, this could have been a league game of mine, and I wouldn't have known. Their joseki is quite strong. This one I'm a little unsure of. I think it's a fine move. It's nice and strong. So if your play style is to play solidly, this is a fine move. Just a little slow because it gives us sente. We play this variation and everything is fine. And we play here, and then white takes the approach. All of this is honestly fine. Again, the fact that they seem fairly confident with this variation shows some good knowledge as well. And so I'm not going to go into this variation. It's not something that's going to pop up in many of your games. It is an AI favorite, and I see it a lot in my games, but I do not see it in many of the games that I play for these. Again, all these moves seem fine for white. I really can't criticize much of this at all. Even here, this one's maybe the first move that I'm a little questionable on, just because there's really not much for white to get here. But with that said, this is a big move for black. If black is allowed to get P12 for free here, especially now that we've got K17, then that's a little much. I think, though, there are other options if white wants to reduce this. White could jump in right now. White could shoulder hit. White could just lightly reduce. There are options. I don't think taking R17 is the correct thing to do right now. But I don't disagree with going up here. There's also a lot of potential here. I think C8 is a move that kind of stood out for a long time because we do have this cut here that we need to be mindful of. So I think this probably would have been the better area to target on this board than playing here. But that is fine. And we Hane and get our extension. And this starts building up strength here. And again, white's not getting too much out of this because white doesn't have any room to develop here. And then this is probably the next move that I don't like here, because again, I think white can go deeper here and really break things up because of the weakness here at C5. I don't think black will be able to contain this stone very well, and it's a difficult move to answer, and I'm not even sure how I would answer it here because I don't think playing on top is really what we want to be doing, because white can take this immediately and then play here. And if we block, now white has this Atari into this Atari, and everything just falls apart. So we can't block there. So we almost have to play something like this, and then white just gets out very easily. So it's a hard move to answer, and I'm not sure how I'd answer it. It probably this. But again, white can just cause a lot of trouble here. It gets complicated. But there are weaknesses with black up top. I think this would have worked well, especially when you're playing against your own opponents. They're not going to answer this as firmly as a stronger player would. So I think you should definitely try moves like this. But this fixes all of those weaknesses, and now black just has a very large side now, and white hasn't even gotten too much yet out of this. Um, so even extending, white needed this extension because otherwise black can just break into whatever white is building. So even here, white got this, but is getting it in gote. And so that's why I don't like this exchange. And then white plays this, realizes that these things don't work, and that's fine. And then Tanukis. Again, I said in game, I think I would have liked to have seen a big move by white. Something like this that says, hey, black, what are you going to do about the fact that I am threatening to get 50 points here? And we would need to do something, right? We would need to answer this move, but it's tough. I don't know if we can jump in anymore. And if we can't jump in, are we playing moves like this and white can just block and just get this very large side, the side that'll be much larger than our left side. So I would have liked to have seen something like that from white instead of this shoulder hit. This does demand a response though, and so we play here, and then white jumps out. But again, white potentially could have left those two stones alone, similar to when white ignored our f3 approach. It's okay to leave some stones behind. And so again, I think it would have been better to play something here. So now after white plays this, it's our turn to do the same exact thing. And then white comes back and protects. And I don't know what else white can do at this point, right? The points here are kind of gone. So either white thinks that they can attack this group or they need to defend this group, and they chose to defend, and that is a fine option. It's worth pointing out. AI says this game is still dead even right here. It actually says white is up by a handful of points. So everything is still fine here. There haven't been any real big mistakes though. From a human standpoint, I do consider these mistakes because it's tough to follow them up. Right, these are very central moves, and it's tough to get anything in the center. So we take this peep, and then block here to get our own strength. And I think white's responses are fine. I think all this is fine. It's debatable whether or not this move needed to be answered right now. There are probably bigger moves on this board, but this is fairly large at this point in the game. But white could have potentially taken something like this Hane, or something more central. But this is big, and honestly, I probably would have played it too. So I certainly can't argue that one. We threaten this cut, and so this is a fine move. But I think if you play this, you have to not fill, right? The intent can't be to fill here. And I know white thought long and hard about this and was probably looking at their options. So I like that they at least looked at this. But yeah, this eventually just forces a bad shape on white, which is why I didn't like. The response was fine, but not following it up by trying to jump out or doing something else. And what I mean by that is white could have considered something like this, so that if we cut, it's really not that big of a deal, because white can connect here, but then potentially this cut becomes awkward. So it's tricky. It is a tricky situation. So then we just go take our bigger endgame moves. White said no, this is larger, and I can't disagree with that. But it does come in gote for white, and so then black starts getting the bigger moves. And this is really where things started falling apart for white, was by blocking here, because white just has too many cuts. There are too many cuts on this board for white to be doing this. So I really do think that white just needed to block. And yes, it hurts. It hurts that we get something like this and there's a big reduction and it comes in sente. But we all saw what ended up happening in the center, right? So with this, I just got to pretty much just tear through everything. And it's tough for white here. just a small point. I think, well, not think, bamboo joint here is much better. We always need to be concerned about shape. Shape is very important, and this leaves a big weakness because there's a cut that becomes there's a cut at J14 later that gets solved if white plays this right now. This is just a better shape. White could have also connected directly. I think either of these would have been fine. I would have played the bamboo. Because what's nice about the bamboo is if we play here and black threatens to take these two stones, white can just drop them. Those stones aren't important. And white can block this more important cut. And if black does take, then white can connect up here. So anyway, but white continues, and it's just bad shape because I didn't take it, but this Hane hurts because if white cuts and then we get something like this, it's pretty bad for white here. This group probably ends up dying, and that's just all because of the shape. And this move is kind of irrelevant if instead of that stone he's got the bamboo joint there. So always be looking at shape. It's very important. But yeah, after we push through here, yeah, things kind of fall apart. And I think this is an overplay because this cut is here. What I really wanted to play was a move like this, which really goes to surround this stone. And now if white does something like this, then a move like this just becomes pretty devastating. And so we could have also looked at just taking this directly and then doing something like this to surround the stone. So this was just a little too far when you've got these weaknesses left behind. We just blocked, but then once white extended, we did start poking at the weaknesses here because again, there's a cut here that white needs to connect and a cut here. So all this was just a little too deep. And so I think that's where I'm going to leave this review because we saw how the rest of this played out. But white played well here. Again, it's always unfair that I poke at all the weaknesses, but these are weaknesses that stronger players will see, and that's what we want to get you guys to start looking at. But I know that they are not easy to see ourselves. So that is where we'll leave it. Thank you guys for coming out for another ride in the Struggle Bus today, where every wheel is an empty triangle. Have a good one, guys.